866-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
Is high blood sugar the root cause of diabetes? Most people think high blood sugar is the problem. The truth, it's inflammation. Insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. Reducing that inflammation is key. Omega XL is a natural option. Not fish oil, but a patented green-lipped muscle extract with over 30 fatty acids, including EPA and DHA. Clinically studied, backed by over 30 years of research. Stay tuned.
Omega XL. Power your health.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after-sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
If you live with diabetes, your pancreas works overtime.
At gmail.com for prompt and efficient service.
Breathe with tiny dust particles that can trigger an inflammatory response when inhaled into the lungs.
Saharan dust travels far and triggers inflammation. Omega XL helps reduce it at the source. Support your body from within.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now, 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Where does disease start? It often begins silently. No pain, no symptoms, just inflammation quietly damaging your body. Our choices: food, stress, pollution, all feed inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of many modern diseases.
You can't go back in time, but you can start addressing inflammation before it becomes disease.
Omega XL is a natural inflammation fighter clinically researched with over 30 fatty acids and no fishy aftertaste. Available Caribbean-wide at pharmacies and health food stores. Call 1-868-225-0410 for more information.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Arouca. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, It's all at Midland.
Is high blood sugar the root cause of diabetes? Most people think high blood sugar is the problem. The truth, it's inflammation. Insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. Reducing that inflammation is key. Omega XL is a natural option. Not fish oil, but a patented green-lipped muscle extractor with over 30 fatty acids, including EPA and DHA. Clinically studied, backed by over 30 years of research. Stay tuned.
Omega XL. Power your health.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after-sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
Thank you, Master Control, and we are back as we kickstart things here. As you know, tomorrow is the opening of the school term, and joining us is a man who's no stranger to the Observer. Always a pleasure to have him on. Let me say a pleasant good evening to the Minister of Education, Dr. Michael Dowlatt. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mickie. I'm very happy to be on with you and update on the opening of schools and school repair program.
Right, great. I know it's been quite a week for you, and even up to this morning, you were out there, of course, getting things organized. Give us an idea as far as preparedness and how are things shaping up coming into the 11th hour?
Right. So, Mickie, in May we have projected 279 vocation repair programs in schools around Trinidad and Tobago, both primary and secondary. When we reviewed that, it came down to 271. 8 of them didn't need any extensive works. Presently, up to today, 245 have been 100% completed. In 26 of the schools, there are ongoing works, but school can reopen in those schools. So they are clear for open. There's some minor works to be done. But I want to say, in addition to that, Mickie, that as we went through the schools, there were 179 emergency works that had to be done, like school pumps and things like that. And of those, 120 were completed, 13 are 75%, and 46 are ongoing, but none of these will hamper the opening of school tomorrow. There are 5 schools that we are focusing on this evening to ensure that by late tonight, they will be completed. So I'm assured by MPS and the Ministry of Education officials that all schools will be ready for opening tomorrow.
All schools will be ready for opening tomorrow. I mean, that's some very, very good news. I know a lot of parents, of course, have been asking, wondering whether or not things are on stream, but you have been working. Give us an idea behind the scenes, because I know every term there's always going to be an issue. I mean, this is the first time since taking office that you're dealing with whatever needs to be done, remedial works and what have you. What was very much challenging that you had to encounter?
Well, what I would say to you, Mickie, in 2023, only 59 schools were repaired on the vocation repair. In 2024, only 159. And I would say what we did was a comprehensive look at all of the primary and secondary schools in Trinidad. And that's why we are in the process of completing these 450 different interventions in all the schools. I want to say that over 350 of the schools are over 50 years old, and Mickie, the infrastructure is deteriorating as fast as you repair sometimes, because schools are large institutions. They vary from 100 odd students to sometimes to 700 to 800, 900 for the larger secondary schools. So they need continuous repair. But one of the things that we have gone under the philosophy of safe and secure schools. And so we want to ensure that the school environment, school plan is prepared, so students can enter the schools safely, teachers, administrators, and all the support staff. but one of the things that we discovered is that, as the curriculum changes, that various schools will need improvement in the infrastructure. And one of the things we did, Mickie, is that we got through the Ministry of Education, Cabinet approved 165 technical vocational posts, and we are looking at hiring 100 immediately because we want to improve the technical vocational labs in schools, because it's important to offer these subject areas to students, because a lot of them are not just academically inclined, but they have a lot of skills that they need to be trained in. And so therefore now, in the SEA exams this year, 6,000 students made less than 50%, 50%. And so, as we improve those facilities, students will have more options, and when they graduate from secondary school, Mickie, they will have the kind of employment skills
that's necessary to compete globally. And I think that's one of the main concerns that people have, because we know for a fact, guided by the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Visesa, leave no child behind. There should be opportunities there, of course, and she's always been key as far as making education a priority for all. Some of the programs that, of course, would be reintroduced, because some were cut, some were taken off, as far as the curriculum and what have you. For those who may not be academically inclined and looking to start their new term, what is also in place for them?
And that's what I'm talking about, Mickie. Like, say, for example, in the new Form 1s in the secondary school, the laptop initiative, and so you would have digitization of textbooks, you would have use of AI to support the teaching of students of different ability levels. So far, the majority of primary school and secondary school teachers have been trained in the use of AI in terms of teaching in the classroom. And so we are using technology to accelerate the way in which students are exposed to the content, so they could now go on Mickie to develop critical thinking skills. And when for giving me this opportunity and giving us this opportunity, because at the beginning she said boots on the ground. And so at the Ministry of Education, immediately we started to review the results both at the SEA level and the CSEC level. And the current curriculum, how relevant it is to the needs of the country and to the graduates and to the parents and students. And so what we are doing is that we are reshaping the curriculum to allow those students, as I indicated before, who have that innate ability in terms of skills, so that when you talk about the metals and welding and the carpentry and the masonry and the plumbing and auto diesel, but now it's with electric cars and hybrid cars and things like that.
Yes, right.
So we want to now move the curriculum in an area to offer opportunities for our learners, and there is going to be, in terms of the technical vocational and the use of technology. So all schools will basically become smart schools in the way in which we teach. And, we want the technology to allow the students to have more time to learn teamwork, to learn how to be collegial and cooperative. You know, Mickie K, now all children seem to have a smartphone and they kind of spend a lot of time on the internet and social media and things like that.
Right.
We want to develop their life skills so that they will understand time management. They'll be able to work cooperatively so that when they go out into industry, they go out to work, they can fit in easily. And, so really, we want to use technology, and the Prime Minister has spoken about this. Also, too, in those schools where there is high levels of indiscipline, we have also taken measures there. We have added another layer to support the whole discipline structure. With the initiative of school-oriented police officers who will support the principals and the deans and the school safety officers and the MTS officers who are in the school to ensure that threats both inside and outside the institutions are neutralized so that schools become conducive for learning, for teaching and learning. And that's what we're about. We want to give every child a chance to learn because we believe that all children can learn. And one last thing, Mickie K, we are looking at strengthening the student support services where you have the social workers, the guidance counselors, and those, especially for those students who have learning challenges. And that's one of the areas that we are focusing on now. So that, as you indicated, we want to give every child an opportunity to be successful in school.
Now, let's look at what you're saying as far as security. Now, Tutor has made it quite clear, and I want to read what was said by the President, Martin Lumpkin. He said that he wants to make it extremely clear that Tutor will not support the use of armed officers in our nation's schools. The perception as well as the risk associated with armed persons in our nation's schools is not needed at this time. Now, like many others, parents and many of us who are looking on and seeing the crime situation and just how far the criminal elements are willing to take it, I mean, are we then to wait for the very same students that we are guiding and preparing for them to bring guns onto the school compound? Will it be okay then? Will it be all right, appropriate then for us to then make a move? I mean, because many would say, listen, this is a proactive move, making sure that these schools, these high-risk schools, are basically learning institutions and not turned into some sort of battlefield or an exchange of criminal activities. And what say you when the president of Tutor makes such a statement?
I think the evidence is there. In the last academic year, a young student was killed outside the St. Francis Girls' School, in sight of all of the students in surrounding schools. And so the evidence is there that in certain schools, and that's why with information and research from the police and from the Ministry of Education, where we looked at suspension data and indiscipline involving violence with weapons and things like that, we have targeted 50 schools out of the 454 primary schools and the 125 secondary schools. 50 of the secondary schools for the school-oriented police officers to be on site, and the officers are not there to teach the students. You have all of the other personnel there available for that. They are an extra layer for security, for protection, to create a harmonious relationship, to be a deterrent for any kind of incident that will increase the indiscipline in schools. And for further 10 secondary schools and 10 primary schools, that's making 70 in all, there will be scheduled police patrols, checking in with the community police, checking in with the administrators, so that like I said, in 6 months' time, we have to report back to the cabinet on this initiative. And so we are collecting data every day as we implement. And so, the perception is that it's police in all schools, and people need to listen to what we are saying. It's in 50 of our schools, and we have the data, and supported by the evidence for the police.
Yeah, but what stands out as well is that Mr. Lumpkin goes on to say that the policy of the Education Ministry and Homeland Security Ministry in relation to the officers remains unclear. Then what is the policy of tutor and that of the former minister of education? What was their policy?
Well, I am unclear on what their policy. I'm very clear on what our policy is. We are ensuring that we have safe and secure schools, and so that the police will follow the law. And that's very clear. On Friday, we had a meeting. The acronym is Safe Schools, and we updated all of the principals and vice principals of the schools what they expect. And so the police presence there is a support to the administrators, because if you look at the job spec of a principal, the first responsibility and duty is to keep the students safe and secure, and then to apply the curriculum to the needs of the students so that they can go on to become successful graduates. And so it's really as a support for the whole institution.
And let me ask you this, Minister, was this, of course, conveyed, was this conveyed to the other stakeholders? I mean, because again, when they seem to be weighing in on this issue, they're coming from a perception of being kept in the dark. Here it is where they're saying that it sends a worrying message and signals the perception that our students are criminals. But if you are attending a function and police officers are there, are you going to feel as though you're a criminal, or the fact that they are present on duty to ensure the safety of the patrons and people who are there? So why is this any different?
Yes, so I think they need to re-examine the evidence, and we have updated them on all the policies and all of the initiatives. So both the National PTA and Tutor have been updated. Just like how I updated them on the vacation repair program, the PTA, they visited schools with myself and the MTS team. Mr. Lumpkin was otherwise occupied, so he could not have visited, but he had agreed to. So I want to say that, they need to open their eyes to the reality, but we have the mandate to ensure that schools are safe and secure. We're doing that. And, one of the things, Mickie, is this. When you get that sense of security, both parents and students, they will want to come to the school. They will want to engage in activities. And so the attendance, it's only when the students attend the school that they can be taught. Of course, we have online strategies, but it's when they interact in schools, that's where they learn their life skills. Sometimes, Mickie, you may have experienced this when you went to school and you played on the playing field. That's where you learn conflict management. You argue about the penalty and things like that, and then you come to some agreement. You have to allow schools to be safe spaces of learning. And if somebody is against that, it means that they are against the future of the country, of the education of these young people. And I'm very concerned about that people need to get into the schools and understand the reality in some of our schools. Because we want, just like how we were looking at all schools being repaired and prepared for tomorrow, we want to make sure that every single child, too many children have been falling through the cracks. Mickie, at the CSEC level, the pass rate in maths is 43%. In a lot of the other subjects, they do reasonably well. But math is a really important subject to go on further to tertiary education, to jobs, to be able to think critically and things like that. So it means, therefore, that we have to give our students better and better opportunities to learn.
No, you're saying 43%. For those who are locked on, people are asking themselves, but I mean, these are not hidden figures. I mean, these are figures that the same tutor and the NPTA would be privy to. They would know that. And yet still one would think that they would be more than cooperative to come together and say, listen, let's try to deal with the situation at hand. I mean, if you're going into an environment that is toxic, that is not healthy, how then do you expect young people to learn and to grow and to develop?
I want to say this though, I have a very good relationship with the National PTA and the tutor, through the president. both presidents. I always talk with them daily and I keep them updated, so they have a fair idea of what's happening. But like I said, you know, they have to collaborate more with us and sit and examine the evidence in terms of why these kind of strict measures have to be placed in. And like I said at the beginning, Mickie, that constantly, daily and weekly, we are reviewing how we implement these practices. Just like how we will implement a new curriculum, you know, you monitor it.
Yeah.
So you see, the same strategy is a very scientific and logical approach, a very rational approach. And so tutor and National PT has to respect the expertise at the Ministry of Education and our schools and our principals as they go forward. So that's something. Recently, I had a meeting with all principals in Trinidad and then in Tobago, and I said that the society has regained that respect for principals and school administrators.
I agree with you. Closing comments. I know tomorrow again, if you can give me those stats again, how many schools and how many would not be quite ready perhaps for tomorrow, but perhaps later on this week. And I know that you're still working up to the 11th hour. And again, I want to thank you for your commitment and dedication with your entire team, because this has been ongoing. And I know there are nights that you have been coming off of many of these school sites very tired and very late as well. So again, for those parents who are listening and preparing for tomorrow, just give us an idea again, how many schools, how many are ready, and some may take perhaps the end of the week or before that, before things settle in.
Well, Mickie, about half an hour ago, I came off the phone with the chairman of FTS, the CEO, and they have assured me that even those schools that have minor issues, that by later tonight, all those will be cleared up. So far, the assurance is that all schools will be open for tomorrow. Just to recap, it's 271 on the vocation repair program have been successfully completed. And in addition to 179 emergency repairs, 120 completed, 13, 75%, 46 of them ongoing, but none of these ongoing projects will affect the opening of school. And I want to say that if any issues occur later this evening, we will inform the parents of those particular schools. But my information so far is that all schools will be open for tomorrow.
All right.
So I want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want
as well. Any message for the students and parents?
Yes. So I want to say that this is a new year. This is a new opportunity. Our students have been promoted from one level to another. Some are entering preschool, some are entering primary school, some are entering secondary school for the first time. And so I want the parents to be assured that at the Ministry of Education, we are making the best effort to put the proper staff in place, facilities in place, but we expect the cooperation of the parents and alumni and the business community to support schools in their communities, because one of the projects Mickie I'm looking forward to in this new academic year is an Adopt a School project, where bodies in the community will adopt schools and ensure that, you know, the issues we're facing, as you indicated, you know, schools deteriorating in terms of infrastructure, that we could actually be proactive and make sure that we keep our schools in excellent condition so we could have the best learning opportunities for our students. So I welcome all of them to school tomorrow, and I wish them the best success, and we will continue to monitor and evaluate all of our programs to ensure that we provide the best learning experiences for our students.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. It's been a pleasure always to have you on. And again, keep up the good work. And, you know, as it stands now, all schools will be ready to function. They will be open tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, there you go, folks. Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Michael Dowlatt, of course, making it quite clear as it stands right now. At this time, all schools are scheduled to open tomorrow. So that's some very good news. And I'm sure parents, you are definitely just as excited as the students, ready to start off the term and ready to get going. So, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue right here on The Observer.
Your heart does so much for your body, your life, your loved ones. But modern stress, diet, and lifestyle can tip the balance, especially with every passing day. Heart XL delivers high-potency omega-7 palmitoleic acid from sustainable pollock oil to elevate HDL and support a healthy metabolism.
Inflammation and low HDL put your heart at risk. Heart XL's omega-7 helps reduce C-reactive protein and support healthy HDL, keeping your heart strong.
Heart XL, nourish your heart, sustain your life.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Where does disease start? It often begins silently. No pain, no symptoms, just inflammation quietly damaging your body. Our choice is food, stress, pollution, all feed inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of many modern diseases.
You can't go back in time, but you can start addressing inflammation before it becomes disease.
Omega XL is a natural inflammation fighter clinically researched with over 30 fatty acids and no fishy aftertaste. Available Caribbean-wide at pharmacies and health food stores. Call 1-868-225-0410 for more information.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Mitlin Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Mitlin stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Mitlin for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Mitlin.
Is high blood sugar the root cause of diabetes? Most people think high blood sugar is the problem. The truth, it's inflammation. Insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. Reducing that inflammation is key. Omega XL is a natural option. Not fish oil, but a patented green lip muscle extractor with over 30 fatty acids, including EPA and DHA. Clinically studied, backed by over 30 years of research. Stay tuned.
Omega XL. Power your health.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment. Known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. full after sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
If you live with diabetes, your pancreas works overtime every single day. Between our rich foods and busy lives, chronic inflammation can sneak in, stressing the pancreas and raising the risk of complications.
They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Cane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further.
Dust from the Saharan desert, over 6,000 kilometers away, travels across the Atlantic to our little island, filling the air we breathe with tiny dust particles that can trigger an inflammatory response when inhaled into the lungs.
Saharan dust travels far and triggers inflammation. Omega XL helps reduce it at the source. Support your body from within.
And we are back. Thank you so much, Master Control. Before we get started again, let me say Alan Hercules, wrong platform, my friend, wrong platform. The Observer, it doesn't happen here, okay? All right, folks, we are back, and joining us is a man who's no stranger to the program. I haven't spoken to him for a while, but he has been doing a lot of great work. Let me say a blessed Sunday afternoon to Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs, the Honorable Philip Watts. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Mickie, and good afternoon to all our listeners.
Yes, indeed. Well, a lot better hearing your voice because, again, you have been doing some great work. First of all, I have to say hats off to you and your entire team for your back-to-school drive. We just had the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Michael Dowlaton, with good news that as it stands at this hour, all schools are ready to go tomorrow. They're all prepared to open tomorrow, which is great news.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So yes, I had a back to school drive on August the 16th, and I had the privilege of leading this back to school drive at the Brazil Secondary High School, where 350 children of all ages came together to receive new backpacks, essential school supplies, and vouchers to prepare them for the new academic year. And on walking into that hall and seeing all the excitement and joy on the faces of the students reminded me why I remain committed to serving our youth. And I also shared a message with them while I was there. I told them whether you want to be a doctor, an artist, a teacher, an athlete, or even the Prime Minister one day, the journey begins in the classroom. These backpacks and supplies aren't just items. They are a toolkit for success. I encourage them to stay curious, ask questions, help their classmates, and never be afraid to try, even if they stumble. Just like in sports, most important thing is to show up, give your best, and keep. What stands out the most is the lack of facilities to develop our young athletes, right? And the Java cricket, we did that Java cricket to delve down into the communities, to touch the grassroots people, because what I noticed in coming in as the new sport minister is that the rural areas, the people in the rural areas, they are not fortunate as the people living in the Westmoreland areas and whatnot. So we want to delve down into those grassroots areas and bring back sport to these people who cannot afford coaching for their children, because most of the good athletes, come from these rural areas where these kids have natural talent. So as Minister of Sport, I will be delving down into the grassroots. The Java was a grassroots cricket. We were able to touch almost 2,500 kids because we started planning this thing within the first 3 weeks I got into the Ministry of Sport. We realized the July, August vacation were close approaching, and we actually decided to run this Java cricket. We couldn't do it in all constituencies, but we were able to touch about 2,500 kids between Trinidad and also in Tobago. We did the Java cricket. In 6 different locations in Tobago.
Yeah, and I know going through the communities and what have you, the rural areas, and I think that's a very strong point because we're hearing it from different areas where people are saying, listen, there was a time when we had so much activities going on, we had these grounds, now these grounds are not cared for, many of the young people have turned away from the sporting activities and of course have found themselves in some very unfavorable sort of situations. What is it?
I've been spending time speaking to athletes actually, because as a minister, if you want to understand what the athletes are going through, you speak directly to the athletes. If you want to understand how best you can assist and where the shortcomings are, you need to speak with the athletes. So I've been speaking to a lot of the athletes. I've been meeting with NGBs also to find out how can we better sport and to build athletes in Trinidad and Tobago. And what I'm hearing is that athletes has no place for strength training, no gym, the nutrition is an issue, the psychological part of the athlete development is an issue. So I'll be working on that, and if you would realize that sometime last month in August, we actually opened a strength training gym. Now this strength training gym is a special strength training gym for elite athletes. And what I'm about rolling out strength training gyms in every single stadium we have in this country, in Trinidad and Tobago, so that athletes from east, west, north, south, central, they can just go down to these gyms and access these gyms for free and do their strength training. And I'll be sitting with Sport TT to see if we can bring in some dietitians and some sports psychologists into the ministry to work with these athletes also too. Notwithstanding that, to develop the athletes, they need proper facilities. And I'm about starting to develop facilities. Once the funding is available, we will speak to the athletes and find out which facilities and which location. So we will spend the money in the correct areas so that the athletes will benefit. We are also, if you look at at our website in the ministry, you would have seen that we will have been giving the elite athlete grant funding also too, right, to help them with their training outside of Trinidad. And once we keep on course, we will start to develop more and more athletes in all the different sporting disciplines in Trinidad and Tobago.
You said something interesting at one of the openings, I believe, of the gyms, and you said that it was more than just opening doors to a facility. It is about opening doors to opportunity. Have we lost that? I mean, have we lost that focus where the individuals who may have held office before believed that everything had to be concentrated and focused on them, and lost sight of the fact that it is the athletes who go out there, who give it their all to represent this country? And are you putting that back on track? I mean, no pun intended, but are you putting that back in place?
As I said, if we want to develop athletes, we need to hear from the athlete, and this is why I've been spending so much time meeting with athletes to hear what are the cries of the athlete, to know how to better serve them. So most definitely, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs is back on track when it comes to the development of athletes with this approach that I'm taking.
And looking at Sport TT, I know there are many things that will be, of course, marriage between yourself and your ministry as well as Sport TT. Can you give us an idea moving forward? What are some of these events or programs that are going to be, outlined?
One of the things that I'm speaking to both Sport TT and the ministry, because we both work hand in hand. We want to start to develop proper policies and proper programs from the primary school level in all sporting disciplines to develop athletes, right? So we move the athlete from the primary school level. We identify the ones that are really excelling. We take them, we have a different program for the secondary schools in all different disciplines. We identify the ones that are excelling, and we come up with different programs and strategies as to how to develop them going forward. So with disciplines like cricket, football, and those kind of sport, you find you will have better athletes coming out, and then we take them from there after school, when they reach the Form 5, Form 6, when they graduate from school.
And how important do you believe? I mean, because many people have been saying that, when you look at our past record at the Olympics and what have you, we just didn't seem to stand out. How important do you believe that these programs are going to play a role in getting us back there on that global track?
Most definitely. Everything once is driven by proper policy and proper program and proper coaching, because what we are going to do, we are going to train our coaches and put them into the school system, right? When we develop the program, so we will have proper coaches too, from the primary school level flowing all the way to secondary school.
Yeah. One of the things I asked you when, of course, as a candidate, I remember when I interviewed you, and I said, who is Philip Watts? One of the things that stood out is that you said that Philip Watts is a man who cannot see things going wrong and just stand idly by and say and do nothing. You're a man who's always committed to the community and committed to the people. And being in office, I mean, it's been a short time, but have you been able to actually understand that more and what it really represents?
Yes, what I've been doing for the past couple of months now, this particular Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, one part of the ministry is actually sport, and the next side of the ministry is youth development. And right. I've been working tirelessly to ensure that on the youth side of the ministry also, that we roll out programs. So what I would have done since sometime in June, July, I met with the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, and as you would know, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, they account for most of the revenue, not most of, but about 17% of the revenue into this country on a yearly basis, and there's lots and lots of room for this particular industry to expand. So what I did, I met with the TTMA and I asked them, where you all falling short, what you all need. They told me that they need 1,500 employees. They are falling short of 1,500 employees. So we took the initiative to merge. We met with UTT, we met with MIC, the Ministry of Tertiary Education, and we are now developing a program based on the request of the TTMA. They told me that they wanted people trained in robotics, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and they are actually falling 1,500 short on labor within that particular sector. What I see there is expansion and growth for the TTMA if we are able to actually train this volume of youths. And we are not training people who is just going out there, who is giving a participation certificate and they're going out there without doing anything. We are training them specifically for this particular industry, so we know that they are flowing into gainful employment, right? And with that level of training, that should help the TTMA to expand, and by extension, it means that once TTMA expand, it means more revenue for Trinidad and Tobago, because we need to start looking outside the industry, and Trinidad and Tobago need to tap into that. So I am seriously looking into that and put a committee together to start looking at how we could take a bite of that cherry that is just sitting and waiting there for us.
No, I mean that is a lot, and I must commend you for that indeed. I mean, we've seen where in other parts of the region there are international sporting bodies that are coming and looking to capitalize on our geographical locations. And I know for a fact that you have sent out to those who may want to come on board with whatever it is they have that is going to be beneficial to our athletes, and also to help put us on the map where, of course, sport tourism is concerned. And I guess this is a big played out, should I say, plan or project that yourself and your support staff is going to be involved in, which is wonderful. Which is therefore wonderful. As far as our footballers, I know you've given them 100% support. What can we expect coming out of all of this as far as backing for them?
Well, we are going all out. I don't know if you realize we renovated the changing rooms for our footballers. Sometime in May, I went to a game and I asked the coach, what can we do to assist you all? And he told me, you know, the changing room is in a total state. And at Friday's game, we actually had a contractor completed the changing rooms, and the guys were really, really happy. Going forward, whatever financial assistance we can assist the team with, I'm fully backing the team. The TTFA president, Mr. Edwards, he told me back in May also to mention the grandparent law. And while other sports ministers might have been twiddling their thumbs with it since sometime 2020, this particular sport minister, after 4 months, brought the grandparent law to the cabinet to be laid in parliament, so that we could help our teams to perform better on the world stage.
Yeah, just to share with the general public that what the minister is speaking about is that law that would allow national teams to cast a wider net for talent. And that, of course, they agreed to the bill to be introduced in Parliament at its earliest opportunity, and that is some very good news. The change would allow people born overseas to acquire TNT citizenship if a grandparent was a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago at the date of their birth. So that itself gives us access to a lot more talent and looking beyond. So I want to say hats off to you for that as well. Any closing statements? Go right ahead.
Well, what I would say to Trinidad and Tobago, this is 4 months inside, and we have done so much, and this is just some of the things that we have been working on in the ministry. With this interview, this short interview, I wouldn't be able to share with the national public exactly or all of what we are doing in the ministry, but you can look forward to good things, positive things that Trinidad and Tobago and its athletes and the youths of Trinidad and Tobago will benefit in the short term and long term coming out of this particular ministry of sport and youth affairs. And one of the things I will tell you and share with you all, the Prime Minister, she's very, very passionate about our athletes. She's passionate about our young people. So from time to time, she will call me and say, you know, put your best foot forward, ensure that we move sport and youth affairs. And that I'm doing.
Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. We'll be checking in with you periodically. And again, to you and your entire support staff. I know you have quite a team that is committed and dedicated just like yourself. So again, keep up the good work. And it's always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Folks, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more right here on The Observer. We're going to link with veteran journalist Ken Alley as he continues to highlight what was taking place, where the money gone. That's why the question is being asked almost every week. Where the money, where the money, where the money? Well, it landed in somewhere, but it didn't land in our pockets. When we come back.
Your heart does so much for your body, your life, your loved ones. But modern stress, diet, and lifestyle can tip the balance, especially with every passing day. Heart XL delivers high-potency omega-7 palmitoleic acid from sustainable pollock oil to elevate HDL and support a healthy metabolism.
Inflammation and low HDL put your heart at risk. Heart XL's omega-7 helps reduce C-reactive protein and support healthy HDL, keeping your heart strong.
Heart XL, nourish your heart, sustain your life.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Where does disease start? It often begins silently. No pain, no symptoms, just inflammation quietly damaging your body. Our choice is food, stress, pollution, all feed inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of many modern diseases.
You can't go back in time, but you can start addressing inflammation before it becomes disease.
Omega XL is a natural inflammation fighter clinically researched with over 30 fatty acids and no fishy aftertaste. Available Caribbean-wide at pharmacies and health food stores. Call 1-868-225-0410 for more information.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Mitlin Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Arouca. Mitlin stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel, and topsoil. Also check out Mitlin for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Mitlin.
Is high blood sugar the root cause of diabetes? Most people think high blood sugar is the problem. The truth, it's inflammation. Insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. Reducing that inflammation is key. Omega XL is a natural option. Not fish oil, but a patented green-lipped muscle extract with over 30 fatty acids, including EPA and DHA. Clinically studied, backed by over 30 years of research. Stay tuned.
Omega XL. Power your health.
Husqvarna, a global leader in outdoor power equipment, known for its high performance, durable and innovative products, tested and proven by generations of professionals. Full after-sales and service support whenever you need it. Contact Provar Distributors Limited, 223-9438 to find a dealer near you.
If you live with diabetes, your pancreas works overtime every single day. Between our rich foods and busy lives, chronic inflammation can sneak in, stressing the pancreas and raising the risk of complications. Over time, inflammation can damage these cells, making blood sugar harder to control.
Protecting your pancreas from inflammation is a smart way to support healthy blood sugar management.
Backed by science, Omega XL is a natural anti-inflammatory with over 30 free fatty acids, proven to help reduce inflammation at its source. Learn more online or ask your local pharmacist.
Oh gosh, this place hot and the AC in this car not working.
Check Ryan Air. Ryan Air is ranked among the best in TNT for auto air conditioning service. They specialize in repairing and servicing all makes and models of vehicles and heavy equipment. They also stock a wide range of parts. Give them a call at 640-5828 or visit them at number 41 Kane Farm Road, Tacarigua, or email ryanairac@gmail.com. For prompt and efficient service, look no further than Ryan Air.
Dust from the Saharan desert, over 6,000 kilometers away, travels across the Atlantic to our little island. filling the air we breathe with tiny dust particles that can trigger an inflammatory response when inhaled into the lungs.
Saharan dust travels far and triggers inflammation. Omega XL helps reduce it at the source. Support your body from within.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Master Control. We are back. And joining us is a man who is no stranger to the Observer. It's always a pleasure to have him on, although it hurts the hearts of many when we have to ask the question almost every week or every day, where the money gone? Where the money gone? Where the money gone? But veteran journalist Ken Ali is always there to tell us, listen, it went in a direction that is not going to benefit us as citizens, but lining the pockets apparently of others. Let me say a pleasant and blessed Sunday afternoon to him. Welcome, Mr. Ali.
Good evening to you, Mikey, and your many listeners and viewers. Thank you for having me on your very, very popular program.
Thank you so much for being here. Big shots who owe up to $5 million for Porsche HGC apartments. As a matter of fact, the story was picked up by one of the mainstream news outlets. It was today, big headlines and so much going on. A lot of these things took place. I think the timing is something we have to question, Mr. Ali. This took place, was it on the eve of the general elections?
No, what happened is that these were contracts, in fact, quite a lot of contracts. I have a document here with quite a number of contracts. Issued various dates, sample date would be 2 years ago and so on. And so that was an issue because several of these contracts, and when I say several, I mean several, are linked directly to then senior officials of the government. But after the general election of April 25th, and we're dealing here as we speak about the Housing Development Corporation, it pertains to other agencies also, which we could talk about in a bit. But with respect to the HDC, the board was not named until mid-August, I think the 18th or so of August.
Yes.
So in that interim, they continued business as usual. And so these contracts, quite a number, I could probably give you, but these contracts I'm looking at with respect to HGC, just this part of grass cutting and some janitorial work and so on, comes up to 57 million, 57.5 million, right? And these contracts were extended after the general election without public tendering. So they were extended for a period of a year on a month-to-month basis without public tendering. So here's what. These contracts were issued at HDC, as I said, other agencies too. I will talk about NITCO in a bit. And they are linked. There's one page I have on this document in which virtually every contract is directly linked to a then Minister of Government. So after that took place, after the general election, April 25th, the electorate spoke in a certain way. One would have expected that this matter would have been shelved or handled in a different way. With reference to the newly elected government, but they continued business as usual. They extended the contracts on a month-to-month basis. Now, like I said, we're speaking here about HDC, but it pertains to several other agencies. I saw the Guardian pick up this story today. Yeah, and I must commend them. Former General Secretary of the PNM and so on. In that family members were listed as owners. Like I said, HDC, we're dealing with HDC, and there's several more I have to say now. The opposition leader has not spoken.
And Mickie, I don't want documents to indicate $1 million in contract. And I'm telling you a whole page here of several contracts direct. Linked, because if these are people who are known to be close to the P&M getting these contracts, taxpayers who want to know that it's being done in a fair, open, transparent process and that every bidder got a fair chance and so on. So those are the questions relevant to this. And remember, there have been, with respect to other companies also, there have been various questions asked. So HGC is just one of several companies in which there are questions about the issuance of contracts.
Yeah, but one has to ask the question, I mean, just looking at all the information that's coming out, there's even with the Integrity Commission, he has, of course, Mr. Cummings, has declared his assets. His properties increased over the years, beginning in 2018 to 2019, when he declared 9 properties. In 2020, he declared 2 more properties, and 12 properties in 2021, which of course they laid out in Fabian Street in Gasparillo, Gahu Trace in Chase Village, Chaguanas, Lighthouse Avenue, Signal Hill, Tobago, Exchange Estate, Couva, Indian Trail, Couva, Lisa's Gardens Housing Project in Couva, Sherwood Park in Canopy, Tobago, and land and building in Southern Main Road in Couva, and Anissa Street, Point Lisa's, and it goes on to quite a bit of properties. At some point in time, didn't this raise a red flag for the powers to be to say, listen, something's wrong here?
Well, it ought to raise questions, and I want to say this guardedly, I don't know the gentleman's source of funds, I don't know any such thing, but you say probably that it ought to raise red flags. He is a public official, and this is a government that spoke about integrity in public affairs and so on. If you read the manifesto, and if you listen to, as we all did for 10 years, the pronouncements of Dr. Rowie about leading scrupulously clean government and so on, we're not pointing fingers at anyone, but there are a lot of questions to be asked, and you've listed some, and I commend the Guardian for the work it's done in investigating and furthering this investigation. But it is just one, Mickie, of a number of issues about the use of public funds that is coming into the public's glare and for which there are a lot of concerns. I have more to talk about. I'm going to talk about very soon a contract at HDC that started for $3 million and ended up at $35 million.
My God.
$3 million and ended up at 35 and a half.
Over a period of what time we're talking about?
I could get that to 3 feet, but it is the scope of works was expanded a bit, but at one point the scope of works were not expanded, and yet the final pricing went up. So as I speak to you, I have the document here, and I will also produce the document so that people can see it. And we have documents from the relevant contractor and so on. Now, the experts are saying they could justify an increase of up to 19 million because the scope of works indicate a revised scope of works. But it moved from 3.5 million to $34,709 $9,735, around $9,735.12, VAT exclusive. And so this here is one of the matters too in which we are, there must be questions. It's on 2018, Mikey, 17th of October 2018, right, for the upgrade of the existing Bonner West wastewater treatment plant, right? That is the project. It started at $3,598,125 VAT exclusive. And there were some variations because the scope of work changed a bit. But it moved from 3.5 to $34.7 million. So again, and these are, Mikey, almost samples. I mean, you've been doing a lot of media too, and you'll be hearing things about the use of public funds and so on. All of that while people outside of the political beltway, poor people are suffering. There's a lot of poverty, a lot of hardship in the country and so on. And you find that some contracts have a direct beneficial link or to people close to the governance in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, very interestingly, I saw in The Guardian today, Foster Cummings declining to comment.
Yes.
If I got that right.
Yeah, that's what it said in the story, yes.
Right. No, I would think, Mikey, he has a responsibility too. And if he does not, remember, he's a senator appointed by Ms. Beckles Robinson. I can't understand, I certainly can't understand under what situation she would want to retain him in the Senate, because you're in the opposition entitled to only 6 opposition senators, and you have Foster Cummings, about whom there are a number of questions. Let's put it this way: a lot of people are asking questions, and like you said, the mainstream media picked it up today, The Guardian asking questions and so on too. And I don't know if silence is an option, and I don't know if the lack of any action by Ms. Beckles Robinson is really an option. I think he must be held to account and he must be made to explain. And Ms. Beckles must exercise her options with respect to senators.
Yeah, well, you're right. And, apparently he did not answer the question, which would have been, did he felt that there was a conflict of interest? This according to the story in the newspaper, whether he felt there was a conflict of interest in companies linked to him benefiting from millions in taxpayers' dollars while he was a sitting government minister. Neither did he answer whether, as General Secretary of the PNM, he would be okay if the United National Congress government did the same. Instead, he told the media investigation desk that all is above board.
Well, I don't want to suggest what he may mean by that. He may mean, well, the company bid, and so were his companies given an inside track? Now, this is only a question. I'm not drawing any conclusions. But these are legitimate questions that the man in the street would ask. You have a senior government minister who is General Secretary of the ruling party. He's a prominent, he's a dominant person. He's a powerful person in the country, in the government. And companies directly linked to him are getting contracts. Nobody's saying it's preferential, but questions must be asked. These are taxpayers' funds. And I don't think a blanket statement that all is above board is good enough. And the Guardian is correct to ask whether it would be satisfactory if the reverse were true. And and how would you respond if that was the state of affairs with the UNC?
Yeah, I mean, at some point in time, there has to be answers to these questions. And again, that's why I want to really and truly commend you for the work that you're doing, because, you have people who are saying, listen, what's really going on? We're hearing nothing about it. There's a narrative of tighten your belt. That was laid out for quite a period of time. Tighten your belt, better days are coming. We're going to see some light at the end of the tunnel. But at the same time, when we hear about these monies, and it's not small, we're hearing millions upon millions that were gathered by this one, and this one received it. As a matter of fact, we have to ask the question, because there were 2 prime ministers before the election. And is it that one prime minister, we're just asking, one prime minister told Mr. Cummings, listen, you've eaten enough. I mean, you've overstuffed yourself. And we're just asking whether or not this is true, because
was as prime minister and he did not know? If he knew, why didn't he take action? And does he consider it proper? Maybe he could give us a narrative that indicates it's proper. All right, fine, we leave it there. If he does indicate, and he could justify it. But he has not done so. And he has not, even though he is retired now, he has come up from time to time. And under his watch, these matters took place. He may want to come forward and provide an explanation to the people. And that may be satisfactory. Who knows? It may be satisfactory. But I think it is incumbent upon him and maybe Stuart Young also, who served briefly as Prime Minister, and also now to Ms. Penny Bettles Robinson, who is the opposition leader and leader of the PNM, to provide some explanation to the people.
yeah, you're right about that. And I mean, we're also hearing that perhaps the entire statement is based on the fact that the management and the board of these state entities where these monies may have been received due to work or whatever contract should be the ones that the onus should be placed on. And how fair is that?
Yes. Yeah, indeed, the board of directors. Remember, Judge said only recently that directors must be held accountable, and they are not just to push government policy, but they must be held accountable for each decision they make. But now that draws us back. If we speak about that, we remember when the first administration of Ms. Prasad Bisesa had brought charges against Malcolm Jones and so on for the WGTL scandal, in which taxpayers lost $3 billion. And when Dr. Rowley came in mysteriously, they dropped the charges against him. He was the executive chair of Petrotran and the entire board of directors. So while you're saying we must hold the chairman and directors accountable, here you have an administration in which it is fair to say that Malcolm Jones was the industrial and energy person, very close to, in fact, that government gave him the country's highest award and so on. Here one government said that he must answer for the loss and waste of $3 billion, and another government just simply pulled back the litigation against him. So the question is, Mikey, if there is corruption, who is held liable? Anybody at all, or are people protected from because of political purposes? But the Malcolm Jones matter stands out with us because of what was absolutely glaring and how the matter turned out.
No, you're right. You're right. And also on this issue of, you also wrote about the political hypocrisy over the U.S.-Venezuela conflict, where many are weighing in now and saying that, and of course always banding about these words of independence and sovereignty and all of that, when in fact that, based on what you've written, that there was a signing that an extensive deal of a military to military agreement that was signed by the former administration.
No, I'm glad you bring that up because the Status of Forces Agreement, it is an old agreement, but in December last year, the U.S. authorities, Candice Bond here in Trinidad, but the then Secretary of State was Anthony Blinken, they brought to Trinidad and they asked that the agreement, the Status of Forces Agreement, be negotiated and strengthened. Dr. Rowley allowed in this new SOFA agreement the U.S. to put boots on the ground here in case there's a conflict nearby, to discipline their soldiers through their law, to bring in shortwave radio and all the other tools of war. All of those things. And when the media asked him at a post-cab press conference to give the details. What would it take? He said, I'm not going to provide. Dr. Rowley's government signed on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And the media asked him, tell us what's in that agreement. And he said, I will not provide a tutorial. Here's the elected prime minister of the country, whose job is to speak on our behalf and to account to us, refusing to account in this matter. And still, they have not responded. That's why I say, Mikey, this is absolutely hypocritical.
No, I agree with you, and history has a way of repeating itself, Mr. Ali, because if you remember at one time we had the shipwrighter agreement. At that time, the Secretary of State was Warren Christopher. In power at that time was the late Basdeo Pandey, and you had these same words being bandied about independence and sovereignty and what we have with the shipwrighter agreement. But if you move forward a bit, where a sitting prime minister was summoned a meeting, a private meeting. It wasn't something.
All over the place, all coves all over the place, up in Toko, all about 100. And this would have provided then 5 years ago, Tren de Aragua was coming from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago, transshipping cocaine, which was getting to the U.S. The Rowley administration did nothing about it, and that's a fact. So that they came to Trinidad, and when Trump was elected, whether we like him or not, he imposed ICE. ICE is the agency in immigration and customs. And so they arrested them, they deported them, and so on. Those are the similar people, their colleagues, and that group was formed in a jail in Venezuela. They're the people who were bombed out in the high seas a few days ago. So no action was taken with respect to Creme de Aragua. Them fellas come and they're linking up with local gangsters, committing crime, bringing in contraband goods, drugs, and all kinds of things, woman trafficking and all of those things. And again, our borders remain wide open. Mikey, these are just so many governance issues. I mean, we started speaking about one thing and we veered off into another. And there are so many issues that are relevant to governance, the security of the people, and the use of public funds.
Yeah, because at the end of it all, we need to pinpoint the fact where hypocrisy is being used to sell some other agenda. And the fact of the matter is that the Prime Minister stands and she says, listen, we are happy for whatever assistance to deal with narco trafficking. I mean, who would stand against something like that? Who would have an issue with a country that is known to be a transshipment area for narcotics to say, listen, we're just going to conduct things as business as usual? No, it cannot be.
And I think Minister Sturge is correct when he said in the media a few days ago that if we deal with this drug trafficking issue, we could cut down crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
Of course.
A lot of the crime is connected to drug trafficking. One, it is about turf wars and so on, but it's also about the illegal importation of arms and ammunition, high-powered arms and ammunition. And it is about time that this matter be dealt with. It's only strengthening more and more. America and Europe are the largest consumers of cocaine and so on. The fentanyl comes from Mexico and so on, but cocaine, and they said 13% of the world's volume of cocaine comes from Venezuela. Even if 1% of the world's use of cocaine comes through Trinidad, that's a lot for a tiny little island, and the impact it could have in destabilizing our society. And nothing has been done over all of these years.
Yeah, and one would think now that we're finally seeing something that could take place, one would be more than accommodating to say, well, yeah, we're heading in the right direction. How many families, how many individuals' lives have been destroyed by this toxic poison that has been on the streets, that has been, of course, being, allowed to leave our area and shipped to other parts of the world, whether it be Europe or to North America. And how many lives have been affected by it?
Indeed, and it speaks to the hypocrisy and the inefficiency. You remember Dr. Rowley hosting a crime summit here with his colleagues.
That's right.
Making us at a talk, and nothing came out of it. Those are islands hopeless, and they don't have a security, and their borders are as porous as Trinidad and Tobago. They look to Trinidad and Tobago for leadership, and we are offering absolutely no leadership. And the intelligence information, the U.S. has been giving us in a lot of intelligence information through the drug enforcement agencies and several others. And they tell us on all these busts in the ICs, Mikey, every one of them, including one in June where the raid was worth 25 million US, all of them is done through the leadership of the US, because they realize Trinidad and Tobago, nothing has been happening. There's not been leadership at any level, including the law enforcement leadership. Now there's effective leadership in law enforcement. The police service has a very effective police commissioner and so on. But so the US came in and got involved and were providing that leadership to make the arrests and the ICs, because they know it's in their interest. All of this, and absolutely nothing was done here by the leaders in national office.
Yeah. Any closing comments? Go right ahead.
Well, yes, there are, over the next few days, I have more to say on several leadership matters, on several contract matters in state agencies. I hinted at this matter with respect to NITCO, and Ms. Beckles-Robinson may want to explain when that comes out about certain contracts and so on. Mikey, a lot is happening in terms of the revelations. One of the things about this government is that it is busily working and trying to make a difference. And there are a lot of findings about irregularities in the past that are not coming to the front. And when they do, people are stunned about the misappropriation of funds, the wastage, and the general malgovernance over the last decade.
Yeah, again, and this is why you continue to bring it to the forefront, and we must commend you for that. Great job.
Thank you, Mikey.
Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll be checking in with you periodically, and let's get that information out.
Yeah, thank you, Mikey. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye. Well, there you have it, folks. Veteran journalist Ken Ali. It's mind-boggling when you look at it, and these are words that are always thrown out there. The hypocrisy of the PNM, always to make something seem as though it's not in the best interest of the people. And you talk about patriotism and sovereignty and independence and what have you. Only when it fits their agenda, only when it suits their agenda, that they can use these things so recklessly. But when the shoe is on the other foot, something totally different. Short break, come back. We're speaking to financial consultant Bet Siraram right here on The Observer. We'll be right back.
Your heart does so much for your body, your life, your loved ones. But modern stress, diet, and lifestyle can tip the balance, especially with every passing day. Heart XL delivers high-potency omega-7 palmitoleic acid from sustainable pollock oil to elevate HDL and support a healthy metabolism.
Inflammation and low HDL put your heart at risk. Heart XL's omega-7 helps reduce C-reactive protein and support healthy HDL, keeping your heart strong.
Heart XL, nourish your heart, sustain your life.
When you say TNT's construction boss, then there's only one company, Lacroix Construction Services Limited, specializing in general construction, industrial maintenance, manpower resources, transportation and lifting, and equipment rental, excavators, bulldozers, dump trucks, lighting systems, and everything for your project. We have affordable prices. Call now 267-0000 or 431-0012. Lacroix Construction Services Limited, TNT's construction boss.
Where does disease start? It often begins silently. No pain, no symptoms, just inflammation quietly damaging your body. Our choice is food, stress, pollution, all feed inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the root cause of many modern diseases.
You can't go back in time, but you can start addressing inflammation before it becomes disease.
Omega XL is a natural inflammation fighter clinically researched with over 30 fatty acids and no fishy aftertaste. Available Caribbean-wide at pharmacies and health food stores. Call 1-868-225-0410 for more information.
For all top quality and affordable hardware supplies, no one beats Midland Hardware, located number 97 Eastern Main Road, Aruka. Midland stocks the #1 brands in hand tools, garden tools, water tanks, power washers, generators, water pumps, kitchen and bathroom faucets, along with face basins and toilet sets, blocks, lumber, steel, sand, gravel and topsoil. Also check out Midland for steel windows and assorted designs of metal curtain rods. Everything for home and business projects. Payments via links, credit cards, online payments, or cash on delivery. WhatsApp 327-7761 or call 646-2144. Open every day from 8 a.m. From foundation to finish, it's all at Midland.
Thank you so much, Master Control. And of course, don't forget, Vitamin XL D3 provides the most natural and absorbable form of vitamin D, which promotes whole body health, which is crucial for cellular health, especially regarding the cells of the immune system. Every cell in your body needs vitamin D3 to function properly, so please pick up your bottle of Vitamin XL D3 today. Hey, and joining us is a gentleman who is also no stranger to The Observer. Always good to have him on, give us that financial insight. We're talking about the one and only financial consultant, Mr. Ved Siraram. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mikey. Good afternoon to all your viewers and listeners.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, my good friend. The executive chairman of NH International Limited, Emil Elias, is appealing to Prime Minister Kamala Prasad-Visesa to raise the US dollar exchange rate from $6.80 to $9. Of course, the current exchange rate is $6.79 for $1 US, according to the central bank. What say you, Mr. Siraram? Is there some benefits to it?
But you know, whenever you managing a country, the exchange rate is one of the few levers government has in terms of redirecting the economy. And if you look at the world today, it is not a tariff war, it's a currency exchange war. A currency exchange war. What has happened over the years, and let's look at it at a global level. What has happened with regards to the US currency since the early 1970s, when Kissinger and they struck a deal with the Saudi Arabia to price oil in US dollars. And even before that, just after the Second World War, when it was agreed that the US currency will be the world reserve currency. However, backed by gold. In other words, the United States could not print more US dollars than the stock of gold that they had. So it was well controlled. What happened in the early 70s is that Kissinger and the president at that stage, they decided to move away from the gold standard. And therefore, that facilitated the printing of US dollars uninhibited. In other words, the United States could print dollars almost at will. So in the 1970s, when they broke away from the gold standards and they got the Saudi Arabia to accept trading oil trading in US dollars, the whole world followed because oil was the major commodity traded on the international market, and other commodities followed, and international trade really depended now on the access to US dollars. So US dollars was being accessed for trading, which was over and above the question of what United States can supply in terms of goods and services. It was wanted for trading, which was not for economic transactions between the rest of the world and the US. The other point was the United States dollars became the currency for a global currency, and people wanted it for savings and etc. So the demand for US dollars became higher than what the economic activities of United States could support. So in other words, it was highly overvalued. On the other hand, China kept a policy of undervaluing its currency and were able to conquer 30% of global trade. So all of this question of tariffs and so on is to bring back now the value of the US dollars to reality. In other words, that to make the US dollars a little under the value that if you leave it to free trade. And that is what is happening in the world today, that the United States dollar is dropping in value. So similarly, when you look at Trinidad or any country, that is one of the main levers for economic activity, economic diversification. The problem now is that the government and the previous government, we have to ask the question, is the Trinidad and Tobago dollar overvalued or undervalued or at its natural value? For years, the IMF have been telling us that our currency is overvalued. You know, we are looking at places like Barbados and so on, who has a fixed currency exchange rate, but their economy is different to ours. And they have a reason